Traveling can be hard on the pocket, can't it? We know. But if you choose the right destination, your dream vacation can be much cheaper than you think. And we're not talking about just anywhere. There are incredible countries full of attractions and culture to explore without spending a fortune. And many of them are right there in Europe. So if you're looking for a luxury vacation with breathtaking scenery that won't leave you in the red, we've got a surprise for you. Today, Bellomundo is taking you to one of the cheapest and most surprising destinations on the old continent, Bulgaria. Get ready to discover how this country tucked away in the Balkans can offer you an experience worthy of royalty without breaking your budget. Number 1. Location and geographical data. Bulgaria is a real hidden treasure in Europe, with breathtaking landscapes ranging from imposing mountains to enchanting valleys. The country is crossed by 3 impressive mountain ranges, Rila, Pirene, and the Balkan Mountains, offering stunning scenery and endless opportunities for those who love outdoor adventures. The highest point in these mountains, and in all of southeastern Europe, is Mount Musala, at almost 3,000 meters. Perfect for adventurers looking to explore nature and challenge themselves with thrilling hikes and climbs. But Bulgaria isn't just about its mountains. Its verdant plains and valleys are also a sight to behold. And speaking of valleys, the Valley of Roses is a real showstopper, but we'll talk more about it in a moment. The country also has some of the best and most accessible ski resorts in Eastern Europe, such as the famous Bansko, a paradise for lovers of snow sports. Although often overlooked by travelers, Bulgaria has a unique combination of history, culture, and landscapes that amaze. Number 2. Birthplace of the Cyrillic alphabet. Starting our list of curiosities, here's an interesting one. Did you know that Bulgaria is the birthplace of the Cyrillic alphabet? If that sounds confusing, we'll explain. The Cyrillic alphabet is a writing system currently used to represent the Russian language and many others in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. And it all started with 2 brothers who were fundamental to Slavic history and culture, Cyril and Methodius, missionaries in the 9th century. Educated in Constantinople, the grandiose capital of the Byzantine Empire, they were masters of several languages and were given a challenging mission to bring Christianity and Byzantine culture to the Slavic peoples. But there was a problem. These peoples didn't have their own writing system, which made the spread of religious ideas and texts practically impossible. That's when Cyril and Methodius came into play. In order to translate the sacred texts and facilitate evangelization, they created a specific alphabet for the language spoken by the Slavs of that time. This first alphabet, known as Glagolitic, was quite complex and over time was adapted and simplified by the first Bulgarian literary school in the city of Preslav. Thus, the Cyrillic alphabet we know today was born. Number 3. History. Before we continue our journey and discover more curiosities, it's time for a brief stop to immerse ourselves in Bulgaria's fascinating history. After all, you can't understand the greatness of this country without knowing a little about its past. Bulgaria is one of the oldest countries in Europe, with a history that officially begins 681 years after Christ. And here's an impressive fact. It's the only country on the continent that hasn't changed its name since it was founded. It all began with the Bulgarians, a nomadic people of Turkmen origin who united with the local Slavs to form the First Bulgarian Empire. This union not only ensured the survival of the new state, but also made it one of the most influential powers in the region over the following centuries. The name Bulgaria comes from that time, and since then it has withstood invasions, wars, and revolutions, preserving its identity over the centuries. But the road was not easy. Bulgaria faced gigantic challenges, such as the invasions of the powerful Byzantine Empire and, later, the rule of the Ottoman Empire, which controlled the territory for almost 500 years. During this long period, the Bulgarians fought tirelessly to keep their culture, language, and religion alive, until they finally won their independence at the end of the 19th century, with the decisive support of the Russian Empire. And the difficulties didn't stop there. After securing its freedom, Bulgaria went through troubled times, including participation in 2 world wars and decades under strict communist rule, heavily influenced by the Soviet Union. And that's just the beginning. The country's historical legacy is vast and is reflected in every corner, castle, and monument scattered across the territory, which brings us to the country's most iconic cathedral. Number 4. Sofia Orthodox Cathedral, Alexander Nevsky. For those with a passion for history and architecture, Bulgaria is a real treasure trove, full of castles, fortresses, mosques, and cathedrals that tell the stories of more than 2 millennia. And in the heart of Sofia, the Bulgarian capital, lies one of the most impressive jewels of this heritage, the majestic Alexander Nevsky Cathedral. Built in 1912, this Orthodox cathedral is a spectacle of Neo-Byzantine architecture, standing out with its golden domes and imposing columns that dominate the city skyline. It's impossible to pass by without being attracted by the beauty and grandeur of this monument. But it's when you enter that the real charm is revealed. The interior is a show apart, with rich decorations in Italian marble and paintings recounting the lives and deeds of the saints and martyrs of the Orthodox Church. Every detail seems to have been designed to transport visitors to another era, where faith and art meet in a sublime way. The cathedral was built in honor of the Russian soldiers who gave their lives fighting for Bulgaria's liberation from Ottoman rule. Today, it is one of the greatest symbols of Sofia, and a must-visit for anyone who wants to immerse themselves in the country's deep cultural and spiritual heritage. Number 5. Cave of God's Eyes, Prohodna Cave. If you prefer to explore nature rather than get lost in history and architecture, Bulgaria also has incredible surprises in store for adventurers. One of the most fascinating destinations is the impressive God's Eye Cave, known locally as Prohodna Cave. Located in the Lovech region, about 100 kilometers from Sofia, this cave stands out for its 2 huge openings in the ceiling, which look like giant eyes watching everything that happens below. These natural formations, called the Eyes of God, or Oknata in Bulgarian, have been sculpted by erosion over thousands of years, creating a unique and almost mystical look. Local legend has it that these eyes watch over the cave, and that if you make a wish under them, it will be granted, as long as it comes from a pure heart. True or not, the feeling of being under these eyes is chilling. But the Cave of the Eyes of God isn't just about mysticism. It is also a paradise for lovers of extreme sports. With walls perfect for climbing and even bungee jumping, the place attracts adventurers in search of adrenaline and breathtaking scenery. Number 6. Plovdiv. If you think you've seen it all, get ready to visit Plovdiv. We're talking about a city that has been continuously inhabited by different peoples, empires, and cultures for over 8,000 years. Yes, while Rome and Athens were still taking their first steps, Plovdiv was already a true meeting point of civilizations. Imagine walking through streets where Thracian thrones, Roman gladiators, and Ottoman sultans left their mark. And for those who don't know, the Thracians were an ancient people who inhabited the region where Bulgaria is today. Known for their vibrant culture and fearless warriors, they fought alongside Troy in the famous war described by Homer. But Plovdiv is not just a living history lesson. The energy of the place is contagious. Between ancient ruins and Roman theaters, you'll find charming cafes, cool bars, and a plethora of art galleries scattered around. The city was even voted European Capital of Culture in 2019, and it's not hard to see why. Number 7. Birthplace of Spartacus. Speaking of gladiators, did you know that the legendary Spartacus, the one from the series, was born on Bulgarian soil? That's right. Most people think he was Roman, but in fact Spartacus was born in ancient Thrace. If you've ever watched the series, you'll remember the epic saga of the warrior who defied the mighty Roman Empire, leading an uprising of slaves in search of freedom. But of course, the series romanticizes the real story. The real story of Spartacus is less fanciful, but just as impressive. As was common in those days, he was conscripted or acted as a mercenary in the auxiliary forces of Rome's army. However, fighting for the Romans didn't suit the indomitable spirit of the Thracian warrior. After deserting, he gathered a group of thieves and for a while caused trouble for the authorities. However, he was eventually captured and enslaved. His strength and skills attracted attention, and he was sold as a gladiator and sent to Capua, where he began his brutal training in the arenas. But the flame of revolt was never extinguished. In 73 BC, Spartacus led a revolt that almost shook the structures of Rome. At first, there were only 70 gladiators who fled with him, but they quickly freed and inspired other slaves, forming an army that, according to estimates, reached 100,000 people, both men and women, fighting for freedom. Unfortunately, the end of this story was not glorious. Spartacus was defeated and killed in battle, and his followers were cruelly crucified along the Appian Way as a terrible warning to anyone who dared to challenge Rome's power. Impressive, isn't it? Did you know the true story of this legendary warrior? Tell us in the comments. Number 8. Yes and no reversed with the rest of the world. If the story of Spartacus is surprising enough, the way Bulgarians say yes and no is curious to say the least. Do you know that head movement we use to say yes and no? Well, in Bulgaria it's reversed. When they want to say yes, they shake their heads from side to side as if they were saying no. And when they want to say no, they shake their heads up and down. So imagine the confusion this creates for those who aren't used to it. Confusing, isn't it? But it's reality. So be careful when talking to Bulgarians not to confuse affirmatives with negatives. Number 9. Surva Festival. Leaving curiosities aside for a moment, let's talk about traditions, which are the soul of Bulgarian culture. Bulgaria is rich in ancient rituals celebrated on various occasions throughout the year, in spring, Christmas, Easter, and even at births and weddings. One of the most peculiar traditions takes place at weddings. The groom must symbolically invade the bride's house, pick her up and carry her to the car to go to the ceremony together. A gesture that represents strength and commitment. But when it comes to tradition, the Surva Festival deserves a special mention. Held every January in the Pernik region, this event is a true immersion in Bulgarian culture, with an energy that mixes superstition, folklore, and celebration. With roots dating back to Thracian times, the festival aims to ward off evil spirits and ensure a prosperous year. The participants, known as kukeri, dress in traditional costumes made from animal skins and wear frightening masks, parading through the streets in a frenetic dance that, according to belief, scares away bad luck and attracts good fortune. The festival is an explosion of music, theatrical performances, and energy, attracting thousands of visitors every year. No wonder this unique celebration has been recognized as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity by UNESCO, a spectacle for the eyes and the soul. But this is just one of the many Bulgarian festivals that enchant with their uniqueness and tradition. Number 10. Nestinarstvo. Another impressive festival that deserves to be highlighted among Bulgarian traditions is Nestinarstvo, known as the fire dance. This unique ritual takes place in the mountains of Stranja and mixes ancient pagan traditions with orthodox beliefs in a spectacle that defies logic and fear itself. The protagonists of this ritual are the Nestinari, men and women who dance barefoot over glowing embers. Originally, only women led the dance, and the right to lead it was passed down from generation to generation as a hereditary gift. To be a true Nestinari, you must have a pure heart and wish no harm to anyone, which, according to tradition, makes them immune to fire. The festival, celebrated in honor of the saints Constantine and Helen, takes place to the sound of drums and bagpipes resounding through the night. After sunset, the barefoot dancers walk over the embers in a mesmerizing choreography. They believe that the ritual purifies the soul and brings divine protection. The most surprising thing is that, even walking over the flames, the dancers come out unscathed, without any burns on their feet or body, even when they trip or fall into the embers. Some believe that the dancers enter a deep state of trance, which would explain the absence of pain and the resistance to fire. Sometimes there's no logic in some things, is there? Number 11. Rose oil. Have you ever been enchanted by the scent of a Dior or Dolce & Gabbana perfume? Well, you should know that many of these luxury perfumes have a secret in common: the famous Bulgarian rose oil. Bulgaria is one of the largest global producers of this precious oil, accounting for over 70% of the world market, thanks to the Damascena rose, a true national symbol. Grown mainly in the enchanting Rose Valley, these flowers are harvested by hand, with the utmost care and dedication. And here's an impressive fact. It takes around 3.5 tons of petals to produce just 1 liter of this golden liquid. This makes rose oil an extremely valued ingredient in the high-end perfume industry. Number 12. Bulgarian yogurt. And now, to complete our journey through Bulgaria, let's talk about something that is essential on any trip: food. And in this respect, yogurt deserves a special mention. An interesting fact is that Bulgaria is considered the birthplace of yogurt, and Bulgarians are so proud of this delicacy that they claim it's the best in the world, even better than the famous Greek yogurt. But what makes Bulgarian yogurt so unique? The answer lies in Lactobacillus bulgaricus, a bacterium specific to the region, known for its healing properties that help with intestinal health. What's more, they've been making yogurt for around 4,000 years. Enough time to perfect it, don't you think? It really is delicious. Don't leave the country without trying it. Number 13. Europe's cheapest country. And if all this hasn't convinced you that this country is a pearl to be explored, I'll give you one more reason. It's affordable. That's right. Bulgaria is one of the best destinations for those who want to travel without spending too much. And since the country has abandoned its plan to adopt the euro, it's likely to remain a paradise for budget travelers. To give you an idea, the average salary there is around $300 a month, and the cost of living varies depending on the city. Imagine spending just $2 for a cab ride, $3 for a meal in a restaurant, and $5 for a movie ticket. Pretty cheap, isn't it? And if you're a night owl, you'll be pleased to know that a beer or gin and tonic in the bars rarely costs more than $3. What's more, a SIM card with internet access costs around $5 a month. Bulgaria may not be a complete paradise, but it's pretty close. So if you're looking for an incredible destination, full of history and at a price that fits your pocket, this country definitely deserves a place on your list of upcoming trips. And so, we've come to the end of our journey through Bulgaria, and we hope you've enjoyed getting to know a little more about this destination, which, although often overlooked, has a lot to offer. If you enjoy exploring new places and discovering fascinating cultures, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to follow our next adventures. We still have many more incredible destinations to explore together in this bello mundo. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.